All right, good morning, everyone. Let me just check something here. Audio, microphone. Yeah, I think I have the right microphone. A couple of weeks ago, when I did the stream on birth control and mate selection, I don't think I had this microphone activated. So the sound on the playback, for me, it sounded kind of, well, it wasn't at the quality level that I wanted. So I try to make sure that's where it's supposed to be right now. Those several folks thanked me for doing that stream, so it's I guess you guys were able to hear me, but I just wasn't satisfied with it. Okay, I have a limited amount of time this morning. I have a flight to catch later this afternoon, and I have a train coming in the early afternoon to take me to that flight. So I don't have a lot of time. So this will be the last. This will be the last stream for 2023. I'm squeezing this in. And I think when I reserved that flight, I think that kind of factored into my thinking. Maybe I could squeeze in one more stream before I head out for the holiday. All right, let me make sure I can see myself. Please smash the like button. Thank you to those two of you who smashed the like button before the stream started. Okay, there is the red icon. I have a short piece that I'm going to go over. And it ties a lot of things together. Okay, so the question is, well, a question I face from people who haven't been following me and people who aren't privy to YouTube. Why is Dr. Dunbar talking about this? Why is he talking about this? Well, this is a science current event, and there are science current events and science events happening all around us. And it is the holiday season, and we are on the eve of 2024, which is going to be the election, the next presidential election. So there are a lot of interesting and somewhat scary things going on. And, well, not everybody's talking about them openly. So this is highly relevant what I'm going to cover today. So let me share this over on my original channel. I'm sure a lot of folks are probably still asleep from holiday celebrations. I was at the cigar lounge last night and I didn't get to bed until around 12:30. So I woke up later than I wanted to, even though I had to travel today. All right, that's shared over there. I'm going to play the intro and then I'm going to jump in. Please smash that like button if you haven't. If you are new, please consider subscribing. All right, here's the intro. And sound off in the chat. As always, let me know what you think.
So Anwar, I see you have the periodic tables on your chest.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that all about? Why are you walking around with a chemistry chart on your chest?
Well, Cheryl, so this channel is a STEM channel. So when I was conceiving of it and figuring out how to grow it, I figured I should have some t-shirts to go with it. So the periodic table is critical to most of the scientific fields. Welcome to Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. Science and technology are all around us all of the time, and there are always science and technology stories to tell. All right, everyone. Welcome back to Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar. Please like, share, and subscribe and all that stuff. All right, so today, the goal is 30 minutes. I can't go for an hour today because I have to get ready to travel and I have to finish packing and clean this place up and those kinds of things. So I wanted to get one more stream in, and I'm going to share an article. I'm going to read an article that, and if you're subscribed over on my original channel, I am featuring this article and another one in two pre-records because there just wasn't time to live stream these. But over there, I'm approaching those from more of a culture aspect. Here, I'm talking about the science because I've addressed both of these, population numbers and climate. And so the question is, what's the mixture? Where do the two overlap? Okay. And I've talked about Paul Ehrlich back in the 60s and the 70s. There was fear amongst many people that there would be too many humans on the planet and that the planet Earth would not be able to sustain all of the humans. That was right after the baby boom. I talked about whether or not hormonal birth control can impact mate selection. I got that idea. Well, I got turned onto that concept by the Chris Williamson podcast. And it turns out there's data showing that when you suppress estrogen, that impacts that can impact a woman's mate preference when she's on, and then when she's off, her mate preference may be different. So I talked about that. What else did I talk about? Just recently I talked about the decreasing population numbers in countries like South Korea. North Korea seems to be close to grappling with the same thing. That's why Kim Jong-un pleaded with the women to have more children to keep their country going. Okay. But I'm not just talking about this. A lot of other people are talking about this, depending upon, no matter which sector you're in. If you're in the Black manosphere, people have talked about this. If you watch Chris Williamson, he's talked about it. Dr. Jordan Peterson's talked about it. Suzanne Banker, a gentleman named Stephen J. Shaw. He's doing a lot of work on this. So there are a lot of people talking about this, even though our elected officials and our politicians aren't talking about this openly, and there are reasons why they may not be talking about this openly. But I saw an article, as I was browsing the web and logging onto my Microsoft Edge, I saw an article that I thought was very, very interesting. And there's some things in here that I had heard in my own personal circle. Okay. And I'd heard these things before. And I think it's important to keep this in mind as you're hearing world leaders talk, as you're hearing our elected officials talk, as you're hearing the higher ups talk. Think about what the ramifications are of some of the messaging that they're giving us, particularly in this instance, the climate crisis, which is a very, very polarizing topic in itself. I took an interest in it earlier this year, or maybe late last year, because I was confronted about what I believe and whether or not I believe in science. Well, there are greater ramifications for indoctrinating people, and there are greater ramifications for instilling fear into people for how bad the world is and how bad the future of the planet is going to be. There are long-term ramifications. But again, how much of this is pre-calculated? How much of this was pre-calculated? I stated before, a lot of people look at superhero movies like they're child's films, like they're wastes of time for adults. But in many instances, comic books, in many instances, art, I'll make it more general to art. In many instances, art is imitating life. And so for the people who watched the Marvel movies, phases 1 through 3 of the MCU, you know that the major villain was Thanos. Thanos's goal was to bring balance to the universe. So he wanted to acquire all 6 Infinity Stones, snap his finger, and wipe away half of all life. Okay. And that was based upon what he saw on his home planet of Titan. So, and I'm starting to think that when they created Thanos, when Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and whoever else did that, assuming that was his original story arc in the comic books, yeah, that was probably based upon concerns that people had back in the 1970s. Now, Robert Kubert Ram, thank you for stopping through. Thank you. Please let me know what you think. Let me know what you think in the chat. Everybody, let me know what you think in the chat. This is not going to be long, and I'm looking at my ticker here, and I need to hurry this up. He says, peace and blessings, doctor. It's crazy that about 6 years back, they were talking about that there were too many people on the planet. Well, it went further back than that, Hubert. They were talking about this in the 1970s, in the 1960s, and the 70s, immediately after the baby boom. Okay. And if you think about it, yeah, that has ramifications for fossil fuels and energy and agriculture, and how are you going to support all these people? So, and I gave this analogy, I think, in the last stream. How do you naturally, how can you cull is a scientific word for separate and or decrease? How can you attenuate a species, a living population? Well, one way you could do it is by confusing the reproductive cycle of that population. All right. And one way you can do that, you do it in agriculture. You could do that with pheromones. You can confuse the reproductive cycles of insects. That's part of organic farming. But for a social species, you can indoctrinate them to not want to procreate and reproduce as much. Again, this is something that, well, on the outside in the mainstream media, I don't think they're talking about this, but this will come up. These things come up around the holidays, around the dinner table, regarding how many young people there are in homes. I mean, and well, on YouTube, it's well documented about all the gender stuff going on. Well, another part of this is fear of what's going to happen to the world, in fear of how bad the world is getting. Okay, so if anyone wants to make a donation to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are here. And so what's an example of fear? I'm just going to play this one drop from Al Gore. This is an example of, and I'm sure this is well-intentioned. And even if it's well-intentioned, you also have to think about what are the unintended consequences of rhetoric and discourse like this.
We're still putting 162 million tons into it every single day. And the accumulated amount is now trapping as much extra heat as would be released by 600,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every single day on the Earth. That's what's boiling the oceans, creating these atmospheric rivers and the rain bombs, and sucking the moisture out of the land. And
okay, Hiroshima-class bombs, boiling oceans, atmospheric rivers. Well, let's do that one more time. There's a lot there.
We're still putting 162 million tons into it every single day. And the accumulated amount is now trapping as much extra heat as would be released by 600,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every single day on the Earth. That's what's boiling the oceans, creating these atmospheric rivers and the rain bombs, and sucking the moisture out of the land. And
so that's very, very hyperbolic language. Good morning, Alonzo, the All-Star Advisor. Good morning. That's very hyperbolic language. There's a lot of emotion in there. There's a lot of exaggeration in there. Megaton bombs, Hiroshima class weapons, boiling the atmosphere, boiling the oceans. And when you hear that, if you're none the wiser, if you take that at face value, you're going to go like this. Oh my God, the sky is falling. And I remember when I was in grade school and the first time I heard about global warming, that was in the 80s, and acid rain, I kind of felt like the world is ending. The world is over. And our doom is imminent. So, and that's why it's important to have a handle on the science, because our leaders, they say things with an agenda. They're giving us certain messages, but what are the consequences of those messages. Money Motion, thank you for stopping through. Okay, so this piece here, I'm going to read this. This is a short piece, and then I'm going to wrap up because I have a plane to catch in the afternoon, and I have a train to come get me before that, to take me to that plane. All right. This link is below in the description box. If YouTube thinks that this is spam, they will poach this out. They will remove it. They've done it. But this is the title in case you guys want to locate this for yourselves before anyone scrubs it out. It says, I'm never having kids. All my Gen Z friends agree we won't be parents in a world like this. Okay. So again, keep this in mind as you're around your home, your Christmas table, your Thanksgiving table, wherever, where you have older people looking around and wondering why the younger people, the younger generations aren't living the lives that they lived. Okay. And then the premise here is, how does science, how does indoctrination, how does understanding science dictate population levels? And so, yeah, when you hear hyperbolic language, when you hear very emotional speeches like the ones Al Gore just gave, you really have to take a look outside and take a look and see what you see. Does that jive with what you see? Does that jive with what you're experiencing? Okay, let me jump into this. I'm never having kids. All my Gen Z friends agree we won't be parents in a world like this. This is off of The Insider. This was published 5 days ago. Okay. And I have a pre-record on this and another article on my original channel. So that's the woman who this is based off of. This woman, Brooklyn Farley. It says Brooklyn Farley has decided she won't be having children. All right. Brooklyn Farley is a 25-year-old massage therapist in Texas who's decided not to have kids. Growing up, she thought she'd become a mother, but the realities of the world changed her mind. Because of the economy and climate crisis, she's instead focused on her partner and her pets. That financial piece, Alonzo, that might appeal to you. Michael Ross, exactly. If you're around with your relatives and they're confused about this is another reason why they're doing this. Okay, they're not. Chuck Schumer came out and said it about half a year ago, but this is the bullseye right here. All right. This is a Told To essay. This As Told To essay is based on a conversation with Brooklyn Farley, a 25-year-old massage therapist in Texas. It's been edited for length and clarity. Okay. When I was younger, I thought I wanted to be a mother, but now that I'm an adult, I don't want kids. I decided I didn't want to be a parent during college when I realized how hopeless the future seemed, from the economy to the climate. I also don't believe in the American dream enough to try to chase it while raising another human, and neither do my friends. The members of Gen Z I know tend to believe, let me read that again. The members of Gen Z I know tend to believe in the American dream less than the generations before us. Most of my friend group just doesn't see a path in the future where we have a good, stable job and can afford both a house and a family. We've seen the crash of the economy, how there are fewer jobs than applicants, and salaries that aren't rising to meet inflation levels. Climate change is disastrous, and the prices of daily goods just keep getting higher and higher. What about this situation is supposed to make young people want to have kids? There's a picture of Whoopi. I don't think that's related to this. This subtitle says, my generation is different from my parents' generation. I think we all run into that reality eventually. And that causes some friction. That always causes friction amongst the generations. My mom believed that if she worked hard, she could afford a house with a white picket fence and 2.5 kids. That's just not how we think. we don't even know if the planet is going to sustain us into our old age. So it doesn't make sense to me to plan on expanding our families. My mom was a single mom until she got remarried when I was 8. My parents know how I feel about kids, and their advice is to wait to make my decision until I know I'm sure. Okay, it doesn't elaborate on how she feels about kids. I'm 25, and even though that's a normal age to get pregnant, if one of my friends were to tell me they were pregnant now, I would want to congratulate them, but would just be thinking of the financial burden. Gen Z can't even afford to raise themselves, let alone other people. Okay, so part of this is economic, and then part of this is the overall anxiety about the prospects for the planet. Alonzo, if you're still here from the financial sector, you might find this interesting. Now, it used to be, well, if you could combine incomes with another person, your prospects will be better. But today, things are a little different today, because you have to have similar priorities, and you have to have similar goals. And if you don't have that, you're not going to pool your money for the betterment of a family. You're going to be running in two different directions. Money Motion, thank you for the generous Cash App. I appreciate you donating something to this. I hope you're getting something from it. Guys, please share this out. This is important. This is affecting everybody. The subtitle says, I don't see the point in having kids in the world as it is. Many people call us Zoomers, but honestly, a lot of us are Doomers. Let me read that again. Many people call us Zoomers, but honestly, a lot of us are Doomers. We feel pessimistic about the future, and we don't want to subject our children to it. I always thought I would have kids because it seemed like the next step on the path of life. I just figured I'd grow up, go to school, get a job, get married, and then have kids. But that was before I understood reality. Now my goal is to make enough money for myself, my partner, and my pets. I want us to be able to live comfortably, enough to save, to spend on what we want, and to pay our bills. Now, they don't say, I noted this yesterday when I did my pre-records, they don't know what her partner is in terms of gender. We rent a house right now and plan on doing that for the foreseeable future. We also want to get married. This subtitle says, I've never felt baby fever. The idea of motherhood seems exhausting. I don't know how moms make it work, especially when they have jobs too. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so on days that I forgot my lunch or needed something, she could drop everything and come to school to help me. I can't imagine having that kind of freedom. Even if I was financially stable and could count on a job to keep me totally comfortable, I don't think I'd be able to balance that with motherhood, which is already a full-time job. We're almost at the end here. A lot of my friends are instead focusing on trying to make the world a better place. We spend our time calling our representatives to demand legislative change, going to climate justice protests, or trying to elevate the social causes we believe in. I often think about the world I often think about the world that was passed down to me, and what kind of world I will in turn pass on to future generations. This subtitle reads, I might be open to having kids if things were different. I might be more open to having kids if things were different. My schedule right now is flexible. Since I'm a massage therapist, I mainly work afternoons and evenings, but I don't know how I'd afford childcare while working if I became a mother. There's not enough time in the day for people to balance both their lives and their jobs. So it doesn't surprise me that birth rates are declining. What I appreciate about Gen Z is that we're willing to imagine a better world and work for it. We want better work-life balance and a planet focused on fixing the climate crisis. Unless things change drastically, such as people taking climate change more seriously and improving wealth distribution, I don't see myself ever changing my mind. Okay, so there's a lot there. Again, everyone, this is entitled I'm Never Having Kids. This is one of the things I don't like about these sites. I'm never having kids. All my Gen Z friends agree we won't be parents in a world like this. So there's a lot there. I'm going to wrap this up shortly. But she ended with science, but also a bit of I just had the word when you're talking about wealth. Let me go back to it. Wealth distribution. When you're talking about wealth distribution, now you're kind of getting into kind of a socialist agenda. So this was about climate and science, but also about economics and society as well. So I think talking about the financial aspect of it, I mean, things are certainly more expensive now than they were 50 to 60 years ago when we were on the gold standard. I won't get into that now, but our industries in this country have been gutted, and the government, the Federal Reserve, they have the ability to print more money. And I think just consumerism is off the charts now. So yeah, how money is viewed, how children are viewed, that's all changed. And Nicholas Eberstadt, that's another name that's germane to this discussion. In one of his videos, he talked about how children are seen as an inconvenience because you have to take care of them and you have to supplant, if you do it right, you have to supplant your needs and wants for that child. And she mentioned that in that piece, her wants, what she wants to do, what her and her friends want to do. So I just wanted to cover this here because I've been talking about this for the last year. The science side. And there's a reason why it's a polarizing topic. You have two camps, climate deniers and climate alarmists. There's a reason why it's important to get the story right and to understand if this world is falling off a cliff or if it's going to be here for another couple thousand years. There's a reason you need to get that right. And the messages that we're giving people about what the long-term prospects of the planet are, that's why this matters, because yeah, you can scare people into doing things that they may not need to be doing. But there are people in charge, there are people at the top, world leaders, bureaucrats, activists, influencing those world leaders and bureaucrats, and decisions are being made for us here on the ground level. So keep that in mind. How do political and social messaging impact biology? How does the environment impact biology? How does the social environment and the social climate, and the political climate, how do those things impact biology? How does the economic environment impact biology? These are all things to keep in mind. These are all things to mention and to keep in your back pocket when you're among your relatives and friends this holiday season. Alonzo says, to be honest, the dollar is probably stronger now than the gold standard, as it is now backed by the might of the U.S. military. Well, Alonzo, Another question is how mighty is that U.S. military, and how long will it be mighty with these population dynamics going on, with fewer people, with men and women being quote unquote the same? How long will that stand? This our U.S. military. And I was going to say something else. And it slipped me. Oh yeah, Alonzo, you being in the financial sector, if any of you, Alonzo, as an insurance expert and salesman, if you haven't watched Stephen J. Shaw's work, he's created a documentary. It's the footage I've seen of that documentary and his interviews with Dr. Jordan Peterson are very, very sobering, because there are a lot of people around the world, not just in the United States, who have gotten to late in life, and then they're feeling the regret of not procreating. But where we're headed on this trajectory is more older people, and then fewer younger people to take care of those older people. So I imagine, Alonzo, you all in the insurance world, you guys have to be talking about this. You guys have to be talking about if this thing goes through to completion. I'm sure you all are talking about this, because then the question is how does a society deal with that? Let's see, Alonzo, let me look it up really quickly for you all. Let's see, Stephen Shaw documentary. It's called Birth Gap. Alonzo, it's called Birth Gap. Let me see if I can. I'll put. Okay. Here it is. I'll screen share it for you guys. So for the people watching this and saying, why is Dr. Dunbar talking about this? Hey, I didn't make this up. This is unfolding around us. This is a social current event. This is a science current event. Some people are talking about it. Not everybody is. But this is a real thing, right? This is it, everyone. Let me slow down. This is it, everyone. Birth Gap, the prequel. It's very sobering. I haven't watched the entire thing. I've watched his interviews, but it's a very, very sobering discussion. All right, I'm going to read some of your comments, and then I have to hop off and get ready to go. JJ Amar says, unfortunately, as long as short-term profit is possible, industry will always rule. The planet is doomed. Okay. Hubert Rame says, is there a way to right the ship? I think that's interesting. Some content creators, I'm thinking about Nameless, BGS, and Nicole, they've talked about the Mouse Utopia. I've talked about Paul Ehrlich and the fear of too many humans being on the planet. I don't know. I think the important thing is adding these things to the discussion of what's going on. And then also our elected officials, pay attention to who's talking about this and who isn't. And then ask why they're not talking about it. And if you get to meet any of these candidates, perhaps ask them about it. Hey, are you guys looking at this? Do you guys even care about this? What are the long-term prospects for everybody regarding this issue? I don't know if it'll get on a televised debate or town hall, because I think they curate the questions so as not to make the politicians look bad. But getting the information out and knowing that this is is going on that's important for everybody to know, because unfortunately, we're all triaged into these little camps and tribes. So right now in the country, it's really, really hard to talk about what's going on. And people are living in different worlds. You know, my mother watches MSNBC every night. There are people who are not on YouTube. There are people who think YouTube is a joke and it's a waste of time. There are people who, a lot of people don't read anymore. So we're also in a place where we're polarized into different tribes, but also people aren't actively seeking information to know what's going on. We just trust the information that's given to us. I'm going to read a few more. Alonzo says, I'm going to check it out. Yeah, Alonzo, that's going to have huge ramifications for your industry. Alonzo says the planet will equalize itself. We had things like the ice age, etc., to ebb and flow species and resources. So, Alonzo, that's a major part of this climate debate, is that what is the Earth doing what it's doing, or are we causing it to do something that it shouldn't be doing? And there are scientists who believe that the Earth is going through its natural cycles. Okay. But just saying that will get you in trouble with a lot of people. Alonzo says, my industry will surely and currently is doing heavy studies on this from the subsidiary side. That's right. Because if you have a bunch of older people who don't work anymore, and there are fewer younger people paying into the system and paying into Social Security, where's the money going to come from to pay for those older people? How are you going to care for those older people? Now, this might be where engineering cannabis comes in and says machine learning and the robots will do it. But that's a question that a lot of people are not looking at right now. Professor Black Ops says, salute to Alonzo, the all-star advisor. Shout out to actuary science. I used to work in the insurance industries. Okay. Professor Black Ops, I didn't know that about you. All right. Just to round this out, I'll go to 40 minutes. That's about 3 more minutes. And then I have to shut down. Helmet Chili says, that shouldn't be on a shirt. That should be on a shirt that says things with an agenda. I'm not sure what that means. And I like that avatar, by the way. It looks like a nuclear cloud or something. Please smash that like button if you haven't. Professor Black Ops, he's saluting Professor Black Ops, and Alonzo is saluting Professor Black Ops. That's right. It's the insurance industry's job to stay on top of everything, where things are and where things are going. I want to thank Jean-Pierre for the generous PayPal donation. Thank you. I'm glad you got something out of this. Yeah. So if anyone says we're wasting our time here on YouTube and that the things that you're watching online are a waste, just keep in mind that there are things that we're talking about here that they're not talking about in other places. So there is a lot of value here. And there's a reason why these things aren't talked about in other places. And I realized messaging, I've said this before, messaging is intentional, whether it's Hollywood or whether it's the political class or the government not sharing things that it knows. I guess a part of leadership is knowing what not to tell everybody, because if you tell everybody what's really going on, then you may have a crisis, or you may have people freak out in a way and go crazy and go nuts. So I guess there's a reason why, and maybe you don't want them to know what's going on. Maybe you just want them to follow the script. I'm going to end with this. Over on my original channel, I interviewed Diamond David Williams, who's a options trader and teacher, a stock options trader and teacher. Alonzo knows who Diamond Dave is. But I started that interview by asking him why Dr. Amos Wilson was one of his influences. And Diamond Dave basically said that one of Dr. Amos Wilson's key teachings was that our environment has been curated for us. So we've come into this world, but things are the way they are for a reason. And the messaging we get and the indoctrination that we get, we're getting those for a reason. So things aren't just happening for no reason. So these things are intentional, what's shared and what's not shared, and there's a reason why. There are reasons why. Okay, a few more. Professor Black Ops says, cool thing about tech, I worked in a lot of industry domains: insurance, pharmaceuticals, government, accounting, logistics, robotics. Helmet Chili says, you said before they say things with an agenda when the Al Gore piece came on. I like that. Oh, you like the t-shirt. You can get these at Target. Yeah, if you want one, yeah, you get these at Target. And then Alonzo says, Professor Black Ops, what do you think about the fintech? What do you think of fintech, mainly insurtech? I obviously have a love-hate relationship with that. I don't know what that is. That's another topic. I have to run. Let's end with Al Gore one more time. And as I play this, everyone, think about how fired up people who hear this, who are totally sold on what Al Gore says and who don't know the other side, or who don't even care about the other side. Think about how hyperbolic these words are, and think about how these words, think about the impact of these words.
We're still putting 162 million tons into it every single day, and the accumulated amount is now trapping as much extra heat as would be released by 600,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every single day on the Earth. That's what's boiling the oceans, creating these atmospheric rivers and the rain bombs, and sucking the moisture out of the land and
boiling the oceans. All right, everyone. This is Big Discussion 76 Science and Technology. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar. I think everyone here in the chat knows who I am. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to donate something to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are below. Thank you to those of you who donated during this stream. I really appreciate that. Please consider joining the Big Words LLC Newsletter. The link is in the description box below. And yeah, with that, let me run so I can pack and get my Uber and go to the train station and hopefully get up to Western New York with no hitches. Everyone, this is the last stream. I don't intend to do one next week. I want to take a break. I need to take a break and to think about a bunch of different things, finishing my book, the channels, just everything. I need to optimize the SEO for this channel. So you may see some shorts from me, but in terms of live streaming, I think I'm gonna, for the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'm gonna relax a little bit and take a step back and look at the last year and look at the content I've created. So thank you to everyone who has supported this channel throughout the year, whether it's with your eyeballs, whether it's with the likes, the subscriptions, or even the monetary donations like the ones I received in this stream. Thank you for supporting this channel. Making science content is not easy. This is not relationship stuff. This is not gender stuff. This is not celebrity gossip. This is not the most sexiest topic area. So this is only going to resonate with certain people. So I want to thank you all for coming along on this ride with me. So with that, everyone, have a good holiday. Yeah, I'll be around. If you want to reach out to me, there are ways to do that. Some of you know how to do it personally because we have each other's information. But these are ways you could reach out to me. I don't have control over that Facebook page anymore, the Big Words blog site Facebook page. My new Facebook page for my personal content is the Big Words LLC Facebook page. The Big Words LLC Facebook page. Meta contacted me over the summertime and said, "Hey, if you give us control over your page, you can make income from it." So I did something, and now there's a Hispanic guy's face is on that page, and I can't do anything with it. So I created the Big Words LLC Facebook page. So there are multiple ways to reach out to me if you have suggestions, or if you have questions or things you want to see in 2024. I have ideas for 2024 myself, but there are ways to reach out to me via social media and other platforms. Anyway, everyone, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Enjoy your holidays. Stay safe out there. And while I present certain things here on YouTube, use your discretion when engaging in conversations with your friends and relatives, because when people don't know things and then they hear things that they're not privy to, sometimes it can get a little chaotic, and the information might not be received well. So use your personal discretion. All right, everyone. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.